They saw an ordinary woman in jeans and a t-shirt, and they laughed. Right there on a bustling Manhattan street, they ridiculed her without hesitation. But they had no idea just how badly they had miscalculated. Rachel Wilson sat by the window of her kitchen, sipping coffee as the morning light poured into her minimalist apartment. At 42, she had built her fortune from the ground up and had never strayed from her principles. Her dark hair was pulled into a no-nonsense ponytail, and she preferred her worn jeans and plain white shirt to anything designed and labeled. "Are you really going through with this, Rachel?" came the voice of her assistant, filtered through the speaker. "Wakefield Dynamics is known for being obsessed with appearances, Marcus. That's exactly why I need to see them up close," Rachel replied. "The acquisition papers are signed, but before I step in officially, I want to get a feel for their real culture. The board expects the announcement by tomorrow morning. Until then, only the top execs know who the new owner is." Marcus hesitated. "Still, maybe this low-profile approach isn't the best idea. How can I fix what I don't understand?" she countered, eyes on the skyline. "I built Horizon Innovations on authenticity and mutual respect. If Wakefield's becoming part of our family, I need to see how they act when no one's watching." She thought back to her own humble beginnings, 15 years ago in a cramped apartment, and now she stood at the helm of one of the East Coast's fastest-growing tech companies, lauded for its inclusive workplace. "Your car's ready whenever you are," Marcus said. "I'll take the subway," she replied, slipping on her simple white sneakers. "It's easier to blend in when you don't show up in a chauffeured Bentley," Marcus sighed. "Of course you will, just be careful, Rachel. Not everyone values authenticity the way you do." Ending the call, Rachel grabbed her weathered leather messenger bag, the Wakefield dossier inside, filled with financials, staff bios, and corporate structure charts. But the truth about a company didn't live on paper. She glanced once more at her reflection, plain tee, jeans, no flashy jewelry. Nothing about her gave away that she was worth millions, or that she was about to become the owner of Manhattan's oldest marketing firm. "Let's see what Wakefield Dynamics is really made of," she murmured, locking her door behind her. What she couldn't have predicted was how much more than just company culture this little field trip would expose. It would uncover the true character of the very people she was about to lead. The Wakefield building loomed like a monolith in downtown Manhattan. Rachel paused on the sidewalk, watching professionals dart in and out of the revolving doors. Sunlight danced across the steel and glass, punctuated by honking taxis and city noise. As she stepped forward, a group emerged from the entrance, laughter spilling across the plaza. At the center was a blonde woman in her 40s wearing a sleek beige pantsuit, gold buttons catching the light. She was flanked by two women in elegant blazers and two men in sharply tailored suits. They moved like an exclusive clique, their amusement private and sharp-edged. Rachel recognized the woman instantly, Christine Hartwell, Wakefield's Director of Client Relations. The company profile called her results-driven, but failed to mention the predatory glint in her eyes. "Jeffrey, you can't be serious," Christine said, her voice clear over the city hum. "That account's basically in the bag." "Nothing's in the bag until it's signed," replied a man in a dark suit, adjusting his tie. "But I'd say we're 99% there." Rachel studied the group, how they clustered close like they owned the sidewalk. People instinctively moved aside. Her pen slipped from her lap and rolled toward Christine's stiletto-clad foot. "Excuse me?" Rachel said, approaching. "That's my pen." Christine looked down, her gaze traveling from Rachel's ponytail to her simple outfit. Her lips curved in distaste. "Here," she said, nudging the pen with her pointed toe like it might infect her. "Thank you," Rachel replied, crouching to pick it up. One of the men snickered. "Get lost on the way to the coffee shop?" "Staff. Entrance is around back," another added. "I'm not staff," Rachel said calmly. "Just had some business nearby." "Business at Wakefield?" Christine's arched brow spoke volumes. The woman in the cream blazer leaned in and whispered, "Maybe she's one of those startup people from the incubator." You know, the hoodie and jeans type who thinks that's office wear. They all laughed, tight. Cold laughter meant to exclude. Well, Christine said with a sarcastic smile and air quotes, whatever business brings you here, maybe rethink the wardrobe. This is a professional district, sweetie. First impressions count. They certainly do, Rachel replied softly. Something in her tone gave Christine pause, but the woman quickly regained her composure. We've got a lunch at Alien. Important, clients to impress, she said, putting emphasis on important. As they turned to leave, one of the men intentionally bumped into Rachel's shoulder. Sorry, he said, sounding anything but. Didn't see you there. No problem. God, he said loudly. Can you believe who they let into the financial district these days? Christine chuckled. That's what security is for. Keep out the riffraff. Rachel stayed still, expression unreadable. Then, discreetly, she raised her phone and snapped a photo of the group. A moment later, she texted Marcus. First cultural assessment complete. Very telling. We've got work to do. She looked up at the Wakefield building and thought about tomorrow, when those glossy windows would be hers, along with the responsibility of changing what festered inside. First impressions do matter, Christine, she murmured. And you've certainly made yours. That evening, as twilight blanketed the city, Rachel stood on her balcony watching the skyline glitter to life. Her mind kept circling back to what happened outside Wakefield. When the doorbell rang, Marcus entered with his tablet, concern etched into his features. You know, he said, stepping inside. When most CEOs buy a company for $300 million, they celebrate, not get harassed on the street as part of due diligence. Rachel gave a faint smile. How long have we worked together, Marcus? 7 years, 3 months, 12 days. And in all that time, have I ever done things the conventional way? Marcus set his tablet on the counter with a sigh. No, but street-level harassment wasn't on today's agenda. He pulled up the photo Rachel had sent. I ran background checks. Christine Hartwell, 11 years at Wakefield. 3 discrimination complaints, all quietly settled. Sounds about right, Rachel murmured. The rest are Jeffrey Clean, VP, of Client Acquisition, Danielle Moore and Sophia Winters, both on the exec team, and Andrew Phillips, Senior Account Manager. All long-timers, definitely the inner circle. Rachel flipped through the files laid out across her dining table. Org charts, HR policies, performance reviews. She held up one folder marked Corporate Culture. The irony is thick, she said. Their HR packet praises inclusion, their website's full of feel-good diversity language. And yet here's Christine Hartwell, publicly mocking a stranger for not looking like her. It's not just you, Rachel. If they treat a stranger like that, imagine how they treat employees who don't fit their mold, or clients or janitors. What's the plan for tomorrow? Marcus asked. Rachel unlocked her phone and showed him a video, security footage from the plaza. Where'd you get this? He asked, eyebrows lifting. Favor from the building's head of security. We worked on a charity board last year. She paused the video, Christine and her group mid-laugh. I want this ready to show in tomorrow's meeting. She walked to her closet and unzipped a garment bag, revealing a sharp white tailored suit. This company has talent, Marcus. Their work is excellent. Their client list speaks for itself. But their culture? Rotting from the top. And you're going to change that? I'm going to give Christine and her friends a crash course in first impressions, Rachel said, picking up Christine's personnel file and studying the smiling corporate headshot. I want to see the look on their faces when they realize who they were mocking. And after that? Marcus asked. Rachel placed the file down with finality. Then we begin the real work. A company's only as strong as its culture, and culture starts at the top. After Marcus left, Rachel returned to the balcony. Tomorrow wouldn't just mark a change in ownership for Wakefield Dynamics. It would be the start of something far bigger, sparked by a chance encounter that peeled back the corporate mask. Rachel took a moment to breathe, looking out the window at the skyline of Manhattan stretching out before her. The city had always symbolized opportunity and transformation. and today felt like the beginning of something truly monumental, not just for her, but for Wakefield Dynamics. She glanced at her watch, feeling the weight of the decision she had just made. Christine Hartwell's departure would send ripples through the company, but the kind of change she envisioned was never going to be easy. Leaders like Christine had built their empires on exclusion and power games, but Rachel wasn't interested in that. She wasn't here to maintain the status quo. She was here to challenge it. As the morning sun illuminated her office, Rachel leaned back in her chair and considered the future. The people at Wakefield Dynamics needed a new kind of leadership, one that prioritized respect, innovation, and the value of every individual, no matter their role or background. She knew it wouldn't happen overnight, but today was a crucial first step. Marcus entered the room, the weight of the morning's event still hanging in the air. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his voice cautious but sincere. Rachel smiled, but there was no humor in it, just the calm confidence of someone who had faced a hard truth. "Like we've only just begun," she replied. "I'm sure the staff will be eager for more transparency," Marcus said, adjusting his tie as he looked around the office. "You've already set the tone, Rachel, but we'll need to back up that tone with action. They'll be watching, especially the senior team." Rachel nodded. She understood that leadership was never just about making bold statements. It was about following through and holding people accountable. She'd already made a lot of decisions about who would stay and who would go, but now it was time to focus on what came next. Rebuilding. "I'll be addressing the company tomorrow," Rachel said, her gaze intense. "This isn't just about firing Christine. It's about making sure every employee knows that their contributions matter, that we care about them, not just the bottom line." Marcus crossed the room and took a seat across from her. "And the clients? You think they'll understand the shift?" "I think they'll respect it," Rachel said confidently. "They already know that Wakefield is capable of great work. But the future of this company isn't just about who we know or how we look. It's about the values we uphold, and I intend to make that clear." The intercom buzzed again. "The leadership team is waiting for you in the conference room." Rachel stood, smoothing the front of her suit. "Let's go." As they walked toward the conference room, she felt a surge of purpose. The company was in need of a new direction. Wakefield had been stagnant under the weight of its toxic culture. But with the right changes, Rachel knew it could flourish. Today, she wasn't just a CEO in a new company. She was the force of transformation. When she entered the conference room, the senior team was seated around the table, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. She took her place at the head of the table, her gaze sweeping over the group. Christine's absence was palpable, but Rachel knew this meeting wouldn't be about her departure. It would be about the future, about setting expectations, and about ensuring that everyone in the room understood that a new era had begun at Wakefield Dynamics. She began by addressing the elephant in the room, the dramatic events of the morning. "Some of you may have questions about what happened today. Let me be clear. This company is at a crossroads. We can continue to uphold a culture of elitism, exclusion, and a lack of accountability. Or we can commit to something more, a culture of respect, inclusivity, and fairness. I'm not here to maintain the status quo. I'm here to lead this company into the future, and that starts with the people who set the tone at the top." She paused, allowing her words to settle. The team was silent, but Rachel could feel the weight of their scrutiny. It was clear that they were taking her words seriously. "I've already started making some tough decisions," she continued, "and I want you to know that no one, no matter how high up in the company you are, will be exempt from the values we're going to implement. From today forward, leadership will be about integrity. If you're not ready for that, this may not be the place for you." Rachel's eyes locked with each member of the leadership team. One by one, she could see them absorbing the weight of her words. No more pretending, no more superficial facades. This was the reality now, and they would either evolve with it or risk being left behind. As the meeting came to a close, Rachel felt a strange sense of relief. She knew there was much work to do, but she also knew that Wakefield Dynamics was Now under her guidance, no more mockery, no more hiding behind polished exteriors. The company's transformation had begun, and Rachel Wilson was ready to lead it. By the time the final meeting of the day concluded, Rachel returned to her office, her mind still racing with ideas and plans. But there was one thing she knew for sure. This company was going to change. Not because of who owned it, but because of the values that would guide it forward. Wakefield Dynamics would no longer be about appearances. It would be about authenticity, inclusivity, and the commitment to treating people with the respect they deserved. And as Rachel stood before the glass walls, looking out at the city that had witnessed both her rise and the rise of her new company, she knew that tomorrow was the start of something much greater than any acquisition could ever be. It was the beginning of a new legacy for Wakefield Dynamics, one that would shape the future of the company and the lives of everyone who worked there. Rachel looked out over the city from the rooftop, the fading sunlight casting a warm glow across the skyline. Below her, Wakefield's transformed team mingled with clients and investors, exchanging ideas, laughter, and handshakes. The atmosphere was electric, charged with a sense of renewal that had only come about in the last month. The company that once thrived on appearances and exclusivity had evolved into something much more powerful, a place where substance, talent, and integrity took precedence. She spotted Emily Chen, now confidently presenting her digital innovation team's latest project to a group of intrigued investors. The young woman, once dismissed, was now at the forefront of a new era at Wakefield. The digital team was just one of many successes that had emerged since Rachel took over. Ideas once buried under the weight of toxic leadership were now flourishing, and the employees who had once felt invisible were finally being given the opportunities they deserved. Rachel couldn't help but smile as she watched Emily's presentation. She had seen potential in the young designer that no one else had, potential that had been dismissed by Christine and her inner circle. Now, Emily was leading a team that was poised to take Wakefield's brand into the future. It was a powerful reminder of why she had made the changes she did. Leadership wasn't about holding on to power or maintaining a rigid hierarchy. It was about creating an environment where people could thrive. "Quite the transformation," Marcus said, stepping up beside her on the rooftop. "I think you've made an impact." Rachel nodded but didn't take her eyes off the crowd. The talent, the ideas, the potential. It was always here. It was just buried beneath all the surface-level nonsense. All it needed was the right kind of leadership. Marcus smiled, clearly proud of the changes they'd seen. "Tomorrow's the big day, huh? The clients will find out what we're really about." Rachel's gaze shifted to the horizon. "Yes, we announce our new direction to the clients and the industry tomorrow. Some will embrace it, others might leave. But that's okay. The clients who valued Christine's exclusivity over actual results aren't the clients who will help us build something meaningful." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "So you're not worried?" Rachel shook her head, her expression unwavering. "Not at all. If anything, the real challenge will be staying true to our values and not letting old habits creep back in. We're on the right path now, and we have to keep pushing forward." As the sun dipped below the skyline, Rachel thought back to that fateful day on the sidewalk, when Christine and her colleagues had mocked her in her simple white t-shirt and jeans. It had seemed like such a small, inconsequential moment at the time. But now, standing on top of the world, Rachel realized that what had happened on that sidewalk was anything but insignificant. It was the spark that had set everything in motion. "They couldn't see me for who I really was," Rachel said softly, almost to herself. "But now, they see." Marcus nodded, understanding what she meant. Sometimes the wrong person to pick on is exactly the right person to lead the way forward. Rachel smiled, a quiet sense of satisfaction settling over her. She had proven that point not just to Christine and her former colleagues, but to herself. Her journey, the one that had started with the simple act of picking up a pen from the sidewalk, had led her to this moment of true leadership. And in doing so, she had shown the world that success wasn't about appearances, it was about substance. A voice from behind interrupted her thoughts. Harold Wakefield, the company's former founder, was making his way toward her, a glass of champagne in hand. As he approached, the people around him stepped aside and he raised his glass to Rachel. "To you, Rachel," he said, with a genuine smile. "You've taught us that true leadership isn't about looking the part but seeing beyond appearances to recognize value where others see only packaging." Rachel felt a rush of pride at his words. It was a rare acknowledgement, but it was exactly the validation she needed. "Thank you, Harold," she said, lifting her glass in return. "I couldn't have done it without the team, without everyone who believed in this vision." As the evening continued and the celebrations unfolded, Rachel allowed herself a moment of reflection. The journey she had started when she first walked into Wakefield's offices was far from over, but in this moment, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The company was on its way to becoming something it had never been before, a place where people were valued for who they were, not how they looked or who they knew. Rachel glanced down at the crowd below, watching as her team continued to thrive and grow in ways that had once seemed impossible. They were no longer playing by the old rules. They were writing their own. And as the sun set over Manhattan, Rachel knew one thing for certain. The world had underestimated her, but that had always been their mistake. Now, they would all see the power of substance over surface. As the evening wore on, she thought about Christine and her group, how they had dismissed her without knowing her story, her worth, or her potential. They had judged her by her appearance, not knowing that beneath the surface was a leader capable of transforming a company, a culture, and an industry. Rachel's story was proof that appearances rarely tell the whole story of who someone is or what they're capable of. In a world that rushes to judgment, she had learned to see beyond the surface and recognize the true substance of a person. And now, she was ready to lead Wakefield Dynamics into a future where everyone had the opportunity to be seen for who they truly were, not just for the roles they played or the labels they wore. If Rachel's story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more stories that challenge us to recognize that the person you underestimate today might be the visionary who transforms your tomorrow.